everybody. It's Nova, your host and spirits guide of Cork and Curated. Welcome back to another episode. This one is a very special one. I'm so excited. We have some guests in the virtual building, okay? So I am joined today by two remarkable entrepreneurs who are redefining what it means to not just craft a solid spirit, but craft some good stories. So on today's episode, we have the founders of West End Gin, Dr. Dawn and Stacey Wade. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you both being here. Welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for having
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank you both and your team. I am really happy to have you here. The gin is spectacular, and I'm actually really happy to be featuring you both about gin because I've been saying gin is in, gin. I don't know if you, in your community, a lot of people feel like, gin is not really the first choice. So I really love that, you all said, let's do it. Okay. Especially since, the gin is made in Louisville. Did I say that right? Is it Louisville, Kentucky? Am I
close. Close.
Okay.
Close.
I'm
Louisville.
trying. Louisville. I'm trying. It's the New York accent, but respectfully, it's made in Kentucky, which is Bourbon County. So I love that you all decided to take your talents to gin. So before we start off with the other questions, I want to know, how do you enjoy West End? I right now have my West End Rita. I think it's my fave, but how do you both enjoy the brand?
We both
We
have
both
different things that we enjoy most. I like it simple. I want the essence of the gin to come through. I like things that are a little fruity. So I love a nice lemonade with gin with blackberries. That's probably my go-to. And if I'm feeling a little fancy, I may put some Chambord in it or maybe top it off with champagne. I never have it in a bad way. So whatever I have at my disposal, I just make use of it from that perspective. You can't go wrong.
Nice.
Yeah, I love an aviation. I like old school drinks, aviations, Corp Survivor twos, and sometimes just straight up,
Okay.
almost like a martini, but on ice with an orange.
Nice. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to try those, but I love it. And I will say, no, like genuinely, y'all, I really like the gin. Usually when you think of gin,
Thank
like
you.
I'm not gonna hold you. I think of like this really pungent, like rubbing alcohol type of feel,
Yes.
but these expressions are not giving that at all. And we have two expressions here. So thank you both for sending these over. We have the Roseanne and then the OG. So love them both. They're really, really good. They're spectacular. Before we get more into the gin, I want to talk about you both. Okay. Are you both from Kentucky? How did you meet? So let's get into the backstory because I love a couple, a dynamic duo doing the thing. So,
So I am not from Kentucky. I'm from Louisiana originally, and I grew up in the Atlanta area. And we met in Atlanta um, more than 13 years ago. We met through a mutual friend, just in passing, and then months later we met again, and then we started to talk business and things like that, and it took off from there. A long journey to where we are today, but I've been in Kentucky now. This year makes 10 years, so I think the actual month of May will make 10 years with me being in Kentucky full time.
nice, nice.
I and I am from Louisville. As Don said, we met in Atlanta, but specifically we met in a cigar bar. I love cigars, watches, and gin. So those are the things that I love the most.
Okay, love that. So then we're in the right place with Super Niche and Cork and Curated because we're at spirits, gin, all the best stuff. So love to hear that. And again, I love that we have a couple duo. Dr. Dawn. So I did a little research and saw that you were in computer engineering first.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you make that pivot into marketing? Because for those of you who don't know, they are also a power force behind a full service marketing agency called Nimbus Marketing. So how did you make that transition into marketing?
With computer engineering, it's a great field, but it happens to be very heads down, and you're always working on something on a project, but it doesn't lend itself to much in leadership. And I knew that I wanted to be more in a leadership position. So within the engineering space, I started leaning more into like executive IT, so much more management perspective. And then when I chose to do my doctorate, I was in business. So I just wanted to be in business for myself. I always knew that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. So the computer engineering background helped prepare me to be a leader on the marketing side. And I'm not your traditional marketer because I come from a very data-driven perspective, but it works really, really well in today's marketing because so much of it is digital and so much of it is based on data. So I'm able to bring both worlds of my background from the analytics, very logical, data driven, and combine that with Stacey's creative vision, and that's what allows us to continue making disruptive type ads that not only entertain, but they also meet the benchmarks from a business objective.
So my background's marketing.
Okay.
I've always done marketing. It's our 23rd year in business. It was for us the last 20 years we've done spirits. So this was just a natural transition for us is to do this.
When you work with other brands in Nimbus, spirits brands and stuff like that, is there ever a conflict of interest there? Or do you feel like you just draw inspiration since you've already been doing it? So I'm sure it was obviously a natural pivot from working in marketing and branding. So is there a conflict of interest there? Or how do you navigate working with like other spirits brands and West End?
I think the great thing about this, we've never done clear spirits for any brand, so it's always been dark spirits. So there's never been a question about there being a conflict. And I think the great thing about West End Gin, which makes it completely different than let's say somebody we work with, is that it's a public benefit corp. So it's very important for us to make sure that this has a community, some type of a community ownership element to it, being able to give back to those communities. So typically, especially in big spirit world, where it's kind of a blip on the radar, but it's just a completely different business setup. So we've been very fortunate to have really good partners in the space, and I think that that's also been helpful, just understanding the process of how it's made and how you get to market. It's been very helpful for us, but it hasn't been anything that would suggest a conflict because of how we move and just the different types of spirits that we actually market. Is never been a conflict there.
So since Kentucky is bourbon country, what drew y'all to gin? You could have did tequila, like everybody's doing tequila now, everybody's doing wine, all these other type of spirits. What made you decide to go to gin? Did you already have an affinity towards it, or was it something that y'all were like, let's tackle this because of the fact that it doesn't have such like a broad reach?
So we both have different answers to that. I'll give you one and Stacey will give you the flip side of it. But during COVID, we had talked about creating a spirit for some time. And during COVID, we both reflected back to the '08 housing crisis in terms of products that did extremely well, things that suffered. So we looked at things that were recession and COVID proof. With my background in engineering, we talked about software, but we also know that software moves very, very quickly. The edge there would be very hard to come up with. So we knew we wanted a product, and then we started looking at market research of different spirits. Being here in Kentucky, you see that bourbon skyrocket. So that would be a natural gravitation to that. But what we look for are gaps in the marketplace, and we saw that tequila was rising or it was holding very steady. So we looked for a product that there was a large gap, it wasn't overly saturated. And gin at that time was only making up 5 to 8% of the category. So we knew like there was a lot of runway for us to lean into from a gin perspective. We also knew that with dark liquor, you have to age that, and we didn't want that. We wanted something that we could make and produce and get it on shelves rather quickly. You can produce gin and consume gin in the same day. It may not be its best in one day, but there are processes that allow you to do that. So it met our timing restrictions. It met the business objectives. It met the audience perspective because it's not overly saturated. So it was just a very good business opportunity. And then Stacey can give the other side as to why we also are very attracted.
I mean, I think for me, I got a strong affinity towards gin. I love gin. I think it's an elevated cocktail. I love botanicals, and I think ultimately being from Kentucky, Kentucky has a natural limestone filter, so the water makes it very, very unique. It's something you just can't get anywhere else. It's kind of like bourbon. Bourbon is made through that Kentucky limestone. It's the same water that we use to make the gin. So it gives it this crisp kind of pop to it. And I love botanicals. I love the basket builds of the botanicals. Being able to come with different flavors is so different than the process of tequila and bourbon and vodka. I mean, it really, each gin has a profile that you can adjust to create different personalities with the liquid. So it's just something that we have a real affinity for, especially me and Don, definitely. But I've always loved gin. It's just my thing. It's elevated. It's just, I love it, especially in a coupe. Anything in a coupe,
In a
I'm
coop.
with.
Nice. I love that. It's funny you say that because I grew up with gin in my family. That was my mother's drink. She drank gin. Seagrams though. So
We, that's normal though.
yeah.
We typically grow up.
Yeah.
Your parents drink it or your
Mhm.
grand. It's something that we call it bumpy face, but we didn't like bumpy face. It was kind of your first introduction into spirits, and
Yeah.
then you had a bad experience, so you don't want to try it again.
Mhm.
But it's so much different than what it was when we started. Like there's so many different ways to produce it.
Yeah.
And the best thing about it now is that you can have craft. And back then there was no craft
Yes.
gins, like
Yeah.
with mass production of this liquid.
Right. No, that's so true. Because when, like you just said, you can do a craft now. Because what was the standard? Was it like a London Dry where it was just high juniper? So it's true that you say that because when I think about the smells of different gins and the botanicals, you could go either way with it. So that also brings me to the formulation process. How was that? How many times did you have to be like, this ain't it? Or, what was the formulation process like?
We had two different formulation It took us 5 years to come to this process of having the OG. And from that OG kind of basket makeup, Dawn came in and produced the Rose and version of it. So over the course of that time of 5 years, just learning about the botanicals that we both love, it took us, after that five, it probably took another, Don, what you think? A month or two?
Well,
Let's
we
just
had
say
the
total
first,
5 years to do it.
yeah, the first recipe, like we were certain about it within about 3 months, but that was several iterations of it. So there was a good baseline, but we kept tweaking to pull out some of the heat and different things like that. And then once we really solidified on the OG, then it took us about 4 months to get the Roseanne to a place we were happy with it. And we still weren't quite 100% sure on the Roseanne until we rolled out. We thought that we might need to pull back on some of the botanicals, but everyone loved it, so we left it as it was.
Nice. And that's so important that you mentioned the 5 year aspect of it because I'm sure there are like other entrepreneurs or even myself, like maybe one day I want to have my own spirits brand. And I'm like, dang, like how long does it really take? So I think that's a testament to show like it takes time. It's something that's not going to happen overnight. You never know like the back end, what's going on. So I love that you all were willing to invest all that time to make it right. So for everybody out there, in the world, don't give up and just continue doing what you do. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
The longest part is everything around the product. The product itself didn't take as long,
Mm-hmm.
but like the naming aspect of it, the brand essence of how you want it to come up to life, the logo, like those are the things that really took a long time. Developing the product was much easier because we knew the taste profile that we were going after. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a little, that's just tweaking and testing.
Yeah.
So the things that you think are going to be quick tend to take longer in some aspects.
Got you. Got you. But it's all a testament to it's a journey, So I could just imagine just, the formulation and taking it back and all the blood, sweat, and tears that had to go into it to make this, and that's something that I just have to remind myself sometimes to just take it easy. If it's not tomorrow, like I'm thinking like, dang, that I fail or, so I love that message and the fact that you all were able to take your time with it. The logo actually was designed by a local artist. Is it Sage Guillory, if I'm not mistaken? So, how did you all tie into that with formulating how everything was going to look?
So the design language was wrapped around a church that's based in Kentucky. West End and Louisville, the 9 neighborhoods, the point of entry, one of the points of entries is Ninth and Chestnut. And at Ninth and Chestnut, there's a church that sits there called Quinn Chapel Church. And Quinn Chapel Church was the spearhead. It was kind of the lightning rod for the civil rights movement in Kentucky as a whole. So Martin Luther King preached there. A lot of different, very historic figures preached in this church. And it's kind of it just so happens that it's the entry point into the West End. So the design language is really inspired by the church, and it's also inspired by the people. When you think about those 9 neighborhoods, they house Brown Foreman, Heaven Hill, Seagram's used to be made in that neighborhood. I.W. Harper was made in that neighborhood. So you had this long history of spirit making in these 9 historically Black neighborhoods that make up the West End. But when you think about the economic impact of spirits as a whole, typically it never went past 9th Street. So those 9 neighborhoods didn't get the full benefit of being part of that history. So the design language and the inspiration from those people had a heavy hand in making spirits throughout the last 100 years. But it also design language comes in with the church, and then the person that you mentioned, Sage Guillory, is actually an Atlanta artist. He's family to us. We were actually introduced to him. There was an artist called Rory. And he did all the album artwork for that, and recently did a collaboration with Uggs. So he was the actual hand that pulled it all together as far as the design.
And it is really beautiful. Like, it's a nice weight to it. I love it. I love the messaging on the back. And I love the fact that you mentioned the history of the West End. A lot of notable figures, Muhammad Ali, like the woman that was one of the first, correct me if I'm wrong, Black doctors, female doctors as well. So I love that. And I also read that you all are committed to donating $1 from every bottle sold to support the communities in Louisville. So can you share a little bit more about the organizations that you all work with?
So when we decided to make it a public benefit corporation, we understood that that was a tall order. And we wanted it to be something that was consumer facing, meaning it was designed to meet the needs of the consumer, meaning the people. So the mantra that we established for West End Gin is that every pour means more. So that means with every purchase of that bottle, you don't have to question where it's going. You know that it's going to help a consumer in need in some capacity. When we launched back in July of 2024, we made our first impact award of $10,000 to the West End School, which at that time was an all boys school in West Louisville. And they've been around since '05, and it's all private funding. It's an excellent school, and they have an excellent mission. And they're opening a girls' school this fall in 2025. So we knew that we wanted to, impact those students in a positive way. So that $10,000 donation, although we have not sold 10,000 bottles, we want to pay it forward in the aspect of doing good ahead of time because we feel like it'll return to us. So each year we'll decide what organization we want to partner with to give our impact awards based off the bottles sold. So our ambition is by the time we sell 1 million bottles, whenever that happens, the community will know that we've donated at least $1 million to organizations. And although we're starting here in Louisville, we don't expect to only stay in Louisville. We want to expand and be able to impact neighborhoods all over the country because we all know that there's a West End in every city. And in this sense, the West End is just indicative of an area that needs more opportunities. So it may not always be the West End in Atlanta or the West End in Detroit, but it'll be an area of opportunity in a community where we can drive positive change.
Nice. I love that and I respect that so much. And definitely keep us posted as to how we can help. I love that I'm huge on philanthropy and giving back. And I love the fact that in a way, what you all are doing is destigmatizing the way some people feel about drinking in general. You can have a drink and then still give back to a good cause. So I really love that. And congratulations on everything that you all have been doing. I love the idea of, saying, you know what, we're going to give this 10,000 and it's going to come back to us because it will, because I'm a fan and I'm happy to support and pay it forward in any way. So please keep us in the loop on everything that you have going on. But as far as the distillery is concerned, because, you all talked about it being botanical, is there any plans on maybe opening a West End distillery? Can people come visit? Like, what is the idea behind that?
We're getting close. Yeah, so the idea is that we're working on distillery plans now in the West End. The idea is to not just have a distillery, brick and mortar, but also have a place that you can kind of bring the elements in. So having a botanical garden that's attached to it, something that we're working towards, so you can pick out those botanicals that actually are in the gin itself. So having that being a part of it is something that we're working on collectively, Don, and also the city of Louisville, to try to figure out how we bring that to life. But we have identified the location. We're working with the city on it, and we're hoping that it comes to life in 2026.
Congratulations. I hope it does too. So I have a reason to take my talents down there. And so
we would love to have you.
Yes, please. I got to get down there. I really do. So right now you both have two expressions. So we have the OG, as you can, this is nearly gone. So I love this. And I love the fact that on the back, the messaging says every botanical used in our gin has been hand selected and is inspired by the people of West Louisville. Each bottle continues to build on the legacy and upliftment of this community. You're practicing it. And what I also noticed about the Roseanne editions is that they are dedicated to your mothers. So could we talk a little bit more about that? Did your moms enjoy gin, or is it just the rose aspect of the femininity that made you all decide to come out with this expression as well?
I feel that the OG is for the gin lovers, those who love the juniper aspect, who love a great cocktail. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said that a lot of it, people have a visceral reaction to it. It smells like rubbing alcohol, or it smells like a Christmas tree, something like that. So we wanted something that was smoother, that could be an introduction to the world of gin without having it to be so strong and flavorful in that aspect. So the Roseanne edition is the same proof of the OG at 88 proof, but it's smoother because we pull the juniper back just slightly to pull back on that burn.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an infusion of fenugreek, which is a spice that gives you more of like a molasses, but it's not actual sweetness. It just gives you a hint of sweetness. And then the addition of rosewood smooths it out even more. So you have an experience with your nose before it ever touches, your tongue from that. And in thinking about the Roseanne, it was more so how can we pay tribute to the people who are responsible for allowing us to be here today. So it was something that I really wanted to do, to just pay homage and respect to our moms, and not just Stacy's mom, my mom, but just moms in general. So that was just a way of softening it up and making it more palatable, because we tend to always have that one person, whether it's a mom figure or someone similar, that is responsible for who we are today based off of the sacrifices they've made. So it's just a love letter, nothing else.
I mean, listen, I love them both. Both the expressions are very unique in their own way. They're very, I think overall it's just a softer, more citrusy contemporary gin. And I know that we talk about how much we love it. I would tell you, we did get the double gold in the gin awards. I mean, it's special not just for us, but it sounds like it's special for other people. So we're really excited about it. I think it's just a more contemporary gin.
I love that. And congratulations. Literally well deserved. Like, I'm not just saying that. I really, like,
Thank
ever
you.
since I got them and I'd been experimenting, because firstly too, it's like I want an easy drink. The West End
Yes.
75 and the West End Rita, it was like I was in the studio just handing them out, and the general consensus was like, this is A1. It also just spoke to me as well, and just thinking about my childhood, and like on the weekends, my mom and dad, I would know it was the weekend because I could smell the gin and I can hear, the music, you know what I mean, the Isley Brothers, and just, so it really does hit home for me as well. And are there plans to introduce any new expressions or any new recipes? I was thinking in my mind, since Louisville is home to like Muhammad Ali, maybe like a punch, like some type of gin punch that ties into like Muhammad Ali, or I'm coming with the creative idea. But are there
I
any
love it.
plans
I love
in the
it.
future for
Yeah, no,
that?
we're. I think that's the best thing about this is we're able to develop new products. We do have a product we're working on for Art Basel.
Okay.
So when you think about Art Basel, that's held in the West End of Miami. That's where that's at. So we're gonna come up with something for that.
Nice.
I think the other thing that we're working on as far as spirit, I think just getting deeper into some different expressions. We got one that we're thinking about called Heaven and Earth. I mean, there's a lot of different ones that are kind of jumping up, but I think the other thing is just what inspires us, lived experiences that inspire us, different taste profiles that inspire us,
Mm-hmm.
places that inspire us, and kind of bringing those to light. There's a lot of different botanicals that we want to jump into to develop. I think the biggest thing for us is brand building and kind of going a little bit deeper with the two expressions that we have. Because when you think about even the big ones, you think about Hendrix or Bombay, they don't have a ton of expressions. They have different expressions that they may come out with, but they try to keep the main thing, and I think that's what we want to do as well. And when we do come out with some limited time expressions, I think that's just what they are. They're just expressions of things that are happening around us. I know there's also a barrel aged gin that could probably work for us in Kentucky. It's
Mm.
more smoother, but there's really no place on the shelf for that for a barrel aged gin. But there's a lot of different expressions that we want to keep into.
I'm excited to hear that because this is also a learning journey for myself. Like, this is the reason why I had even started my show. I just was curious about, the different wines, the different spirits, but also I love to geek out about like the people behind the brands, what inspires you, the formulation processes, the recipes, and because that
Yeah.
to me is what really like drives it home. Like, of course, I love to have a drink, with my friends. But once I started to learn about people like yourselves and what goes into it and making it happen, especially as a Black woman, it is so inspiring. Even having y'all here with me virtually, like, it means so much. Seriously, like, I am just so hyped, and kudos
Yeah.
to you both.
I mean, I think the best thing about it, listen, there's very few spirit brands that are ran by women, and there's very few gin brands. If I don't know of another one that's
Yeah.
ran by a woman, and more importantly, a Black woman that runs this company, which is Dawn. So there's not a lot of it. There's not a lot of us out there, and there's definitely not a lot of women, especially Black women in spirits. And I
Mhm.
think this is something that we always try to highlight. We are Black. We're a gin. We just happen to be Black owned. And
Right.
oh, by the way, we're also owned by a woman, and we're being guided by Dawn and kind of her, her ability to kind of guide the company. But at the end of the day, we both love gin, and I think that the complexity that comes along with gin is a different complexity than any other spirit because each one is completely different.
I want to know as well, being that you I love the way that you talk about Dawn and the way that you both uplift each other. How is that boundary set, from work? Or is it just all encompassing, or do you all have like, babe, like let's shelf that, or is it just something that's just already just embedded into your relationship?
I
I
think our
say
love language is success. So I think that allows us to dream in ways to continue bettering each other, and the work around us. So there is no clear divide. We have a 9-year-old son, and he knows all about the product. He knows what it's about, that it's a vehicle for good. So I think it's just who we are and how we approach life and business. There's no clear line that delineates what we do from that because at any moment we're always trying to how to grow it so that we can do more. It's less about the gin, it's about the experience that the gin provides, either while you're having the drink or while you're helping community. So it's not about just pushing gin. It's the more gin I push, the more people we can help and provide more opportunities. So that's why we're always looking to grow it and to make sure we show up and people talk about it in a positive way. We get so many people who aren't even drinkers, but they want to support the brand just because they believe in what we're doing. So those are the types of things that keep us energized.
I love that. I feel the same way. Like people just even supporting the show. Some people don't drink, but for me, just like you said, it's not just about the drinking. It's just about the knowledge, the giving back, the platforming, and building a community. I hear that July 27th is officially West End Gin Day. Are there any plans for celebrating this year? Is there anything big happening that you can share with us, or do we just have to stay tuned?
You'll have to definitely stay tuned.
Okay.
But
You know what's funny? I didn't even realize until you said it. I was like, oh, it is coming up. We need to figure it out.
it has been on my mind for some time.
Listen, we just got off Derby.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we did
Yeah.
a bunch
Yeah.
of events in Derby.
Yeah.
So I still got a little bit of fog from that. But yes,
I feel
we
that.
need to get on.
Okay. Well, we will be tuned in because I love that. And I want to see, each year what you all do to celebrate and bring it to life. But congratulations on even having that as well, having an official West End Gin Day in July. With all the success and everything happening, are there questions that you have for your consumers, or are there some feedback that you would want from us?
Yeah, I think the gin is about community. So that input is really important to us. How people experience is important. I think that's what we're trying to understand is like those moments that you experience it and how can it be enhanced with the gin and what does that look like, and are there some recipes that we just haven't thought about? Gin is such an old spirit.
Yeah.
Are there some things that we haven't thought about? There's plenty of recipes out there, but I think especially now there's a lot of people crafting their own recipes. So we always look for input from our community on what they're experiencing, what kind of drinks they're working through, where are they going, where are they having those experiences at, how can we enhance those experiences, can we be there, can we participate? All of that comes into play when we're developing out, kind of the next places where we want to show up and how we want to show up.
Love that. Well, like I said, you have my full on support. Like I try to be as honest as possible. I'm always nervous, like, what if I don't like it? But I really do. I really do. Like, what am I going to say? But I do. And, I want to thank you both so much. Like, it's a testament to just persevering. I love your backgrounds and the versatility there, the fact that you all are in marketing and now you're marketing your own brand and you're just continuing to go up. Like, I love the power. I love the success. And I just want to thank you both for your time, for being on the platform with me. Let's let the people know where they can find the gin and where they can learn more about you both.
So if you're not in Illinois or Kentucky, you can order the gin on westendgin.com. So we ship out to 34 states in the US. But we're currently in Kentucky and launching in Chicago this week. With Benny's.
So you heard that, y'all. Please get your hands on this. I really do think it is a sophisticated and elevated experience. And that's what I'm all about, to be quite frank. So thank you both so much again. Thank you to your team as well. It was really great interacting with them. They represent you well. Thank you so much for being on Cork and Curated. Y'all, please get your hands on West End Gin, either expressions. I'm going to finish enjoying my West End Rita. And hopefully we can bring our talents to Kentucky, hopefully in July for the West End Gin Day, for sure. But thanks so much, y'all, for tuning in to another episode. We will see you next time.